school person.
I hated my time there. I went there so I could get the piece of paper, and I hated it there.
I was gonna say you definitely. I feel like you did. Did you say? Would you say you met like some people that you like formed very good bonds there, or do you just like do not have a really good memory of like really anybody there?
3 or 4 friends of mine, and yeah, a number of acquaintances. Honestly, I feel like I'm living my college years now because while I was in school, I was so bogged down. Like, A, I was working 40 hours a week, and B, I was taking 7 classes per semester. C, I was probably 25 pounds heavier. I had horrible acne. I didn't like myself. I didn't even want people to see me. Never mind, whatever.
Uh,
And that plus, I felt like the campus was very woke to an extent where it was almost difficult for folks to drop the facade. So no, I didn't have a good time there, and I didn't think the teaching quality was great. There were a couple classes where it was decent, but overall, I treated it like a 4 year long tunnel. And I think that kind of shines through in the book where I didn't like it. I didn't have fun. I wasn't there to have fun. I wasn't there to like it. I was there to get a piece of paper that could help me make more money in the future. And that's as scummy as that sounds. That's why I went there.
not dude. To be real, that's not scummy. I feel like the whole atmosphere this is just my. I'm generalizing to the max here, and we made like a bit about it before, but like Cambridge is like the people that walk around acting like they want like care about the problems, but like don't realize that they like aren't involved with it at all. Like you're not. It just it's like such a bubble where I feel like everyone just kisses their own ass, bro. Like the conversations you hear walking around, dude. I'm just like, this is fucking brutal, dude. You guys never turn it off. Like it just seems like you have to like build yourself up to such a degree to like fit in there. Like, and that's just me observing as an
Yep.
outsider. It just feels so fake. It feels like a place that doesn't. It's not authentic. Like you don't. No one there feels legit.
I found that, and that's why I didn't like it there. And I'm sure there were some good moments, and there were some good memories. Not a ton of them. I think the issues were twofold. Number one, I didn't like myself at that point. I was not very comfortable with myself, and ultimately, I was pretty. I wouldn't say antisocial is the right word, but I was very shy. Like you'd never see me go up to a big group of people. I'd never go to a party or anything like that. But then again, that's never really been me. And so yeah, I was rather shy. I never really put myself out there much in college. But also too, it just seemed like there were so many disgenuine people where everybody was trying to maintain a facade of perfection that and folks would be tiptoeing so much to maintain you know, perfect political correctness to a fault that I just felt like everybody was a glorified actor there. And I remember there's kind of a scene in the book where it's my last day there, and I skipped graduation. My final class ends at like 3, and by 3:04 an Uber pulls up, and I get in, and I turn around once, and I'm like, never again, and I drive away. Harvard did a lot for me. There were a lot of really good people there, and there were some great connections I made. Ultimately, it's a chapter of my life that I've closed the door on, and I'm sort of happy with that. I got the piece of paper. That's all I need.
That's crazy. Would you say like the resources there were kind of like unmatched? Would you say like it felt like like you said you used it as a tool to like more money? Do you feel like it helped you kind of grow it all as a person, just like access to any sort of resources that you wouldn't have gotten somewhere else?
I mean, I got to when you go to Harvard, you get kind of a golden ticket to do whatever you want. What I mean by that is you can do anything. You can't do everything. So I use my golden ticket to travel, whether that be storm chasing, traveling on my own, study abroad, stuff like that. I did that. I also cobbled together my own curriculum, which it helped. And if nothing else, it set me apart. The name brand aspect of it means that if I say I went to whatever school, people may not know that, but if I say Harvard, immediately there's a reputation of, oh, like you're XYZ that precedes you, and it credibility in a way that a lot of other schools don't. I don't think I could have broken into the DC TV market at 23 with any sort of generic degree. I think the fact that I had that sort of gravitas, plus some prior, and plus I had no previous TV experience, but I think that the fact that I had that Harvard seal and could sort of say I made my own major there between Harvard and MIT, I think that's what got me the job. And that's what I was betting on, was that it would open doors. I didn't have fun there. Atmosphere needs some work. I think Harvard spends so much time choosing stereotypically smart people that they forget to choose passionate people. And Lord knows I'm passionate about what I do. And some.
That is certainly true. But so would you say that like at MIT, did you like the professors there better than Harvard? Which one did you feel like was a more academically fulfilling? Like if you had to choose.
I took more specialized classes at MIT than I did at Harvard. I felt that smaller class size at MIT, plus just the genuine thirst for knowledge I loved at MIT. Harvard, I felt like there was a higher standard deviation. You had some professors who might be tenured and could absolutely suck as teachers, but they had great, impressive research, and so they'd stay in their positions. I felt like overall I had much better teachers in high school. I think high school spoiled all of us because we had gifted teachers. There's a difference between being a good teacher and being a good professor because ultimately I want a good teacher. I want someone who can convey knowledge and communicate it and is there to help me learn. Professors, some do that. Others prioritize research, getting their names on whatever, and less about the teaching. And yeah, that's their prerogative. But I felt like that was a big issue at Harvard. And not to sound ungrateful, like Harvard gave me a lot of opportunities, and I'm very grateful for that. But there are some improvements that need to be made, and I think there are some big cultural shifts that need to be made. I think some of them are common on all college campuses. Let's be honest. College campuses are supposed to be a place where you can be open with your ideas, and yet college campuses are, in America especially, the place where you can be open as long as you have the same correct ideas as everyone else. I think they're so big about, let's have an open mind, and yet you can only have an open mind if it's the correct, societally acceptable opinion to have on every issue. And I'm not talking on any one issue, but that almost made it, I think that further entrenched the whole everybody has a facade thing, because everybody had to play as if they had the same opinions about everything. And only once you really got to know someone and break through the barriers would you be like, oh, like, you're chill. You're not actually faking it too. Like, I mean, you are faking it too. Like, we're, chill.
Yeah, one thing I will say too, and just as like a different experience from college, like people, because to me it always kind of blew my mind where people were like, oh, like college is super, like at least for us at Lowell, Joe, I don't know if you could say the same. I don't necessarily feel like I felt that as much. I feel like
No, definitely not. I
no
mean,
one
you
really
did feel
bothered
it
each other with
somewhere.
ideas on campus. Like there were
I
people
was
who were
engineering, so that's like a complete different. No one talked about ideas about
and I was
anything.
business, so I mean I definitely didn't have the most open-minded
I
people,
was
but
I
like
was South Campus, so I had
but like
some.
even bro, like people
Yeah,
like
you might have a pro
you just
comp.
kind of at the end of the day just say what you think. Like I don't know, I would say UMass Lowell wasn't necessarily a place that fostered like an environment for like ideas and shit. Like that is something I feel like Harvard, like you said, like it feels like it was very performative. I feel like it's also because like the stakes at like that school, like everybody has such a prestige. They had to put that on for like for a lot of people probably their whole life to like get to that point. Like who like it just feels like at least at like Lowell, one thing I would say about college is a lot of people kind of just weren't up your ass about stuff, which was good because it kind of like allowed you to grow naturally. It wasn't forced down our throats, kind of like it feels like it was to you. I don't know, man. That would stress me out, like having to be around people like that. I just couldn't do it because it's like you said, like everyone's performing. It's like that's just so weird, man. And you were saying like the one thing that I like I kind of really like about what you were talking about, and I'm sure it's great in the book, is how you're like holding Harvard to that standard. Because I feel like if you're gonna put the prestige behind its name, or like any big institution like that, if you're gonna put the prestige behind its name, like you should be also be open to making it better. It shouldn't just be like rest on
Yeah.
its accolades. So it's great to hear someone who leaves a school like that and like kind of does have an experience like this wasn't what I like necessarily thought it would be.
And Harvard has good administrators and bad administrators, but like, let's be honest. A lot of the people who go to Harvard, most of them, are going to be highly successful regardless of whether or not they go to Harvard. It's not
Yeah,
just the
100%.
institution. And I think it's somewhat easier for these higher level institutions to coast when they're hand choosing what they perceive to be the best or the most likely to be high achieving. I'd like to think I'd be sort of at the forefront of the meteorological enterprise, regardless of where I went. I'd be making a name for myself.
Yes, sir,
But
dude.
and so I almost don't want people to associate me with Harvard because, like, I don't know. But I feel like that's sort of the case where there's not much of an incentive for an institution to change culturally if they're perceived to be churning out the best, even though they already handpicked the best. They just have to do sort of, film.
Yeah, especially Harvard, man. I'm not saying you didn't like learn anything there, but like you said, you strike me as someone that like even if you didn't go to like I know you need a degree and stuff to be, but like personality wise, man, like even if you wanted to be like like I'm just like an amateur storm chaser, like yeah, like you have always portrayed such like a really good knowledge of stuff, but also being very relatable to people who don't understand stuff. Like everybody who listens to the episodes you were on previous to like this were all said that. They were like, it's crazy how well you convey such a high knowledge of like you were destined to be whatever. You were like, dude, when did you like if people didn't listen to the first few, when did you really know that you wanted to be like a meteorologist?
I was like 4 or 5 years old. Like it's